Okay, hi, it's Kevin May, Editor-in-Chief of PhocusWire. So I'm joined here by Claudio Bellinzona, you're the co-founder and the Chief Operating Officer of Musement. So I guess we have to say congratulations, hopefully first of all.
Thanks.
You're a week after the news certainly went public.
Yep.
You're now owned by the TUI Group. So,
that's correct.
So tell us a little bit about, we're always interested in, let's put our startup conversation on first. We're always interested in how that kind of came about, the process. So when did you start talking to TUI, or when did TUI start talking to you?
Well, we started talking even before the talk was about the acquisition, because TUI is producing tours and activities by itself. So we started talking about doing something together, using Musement as a platform for their tours and activities. Okay. And then other stuff came out, like the possibility of talking about possible acquisitions, because at that time we were, and this was the beginning of this year, more or less, around February and March, because Musement was starting to seek for potential investors or any other potential exit.
How much had you raised up until the point when you started?
Around 20 million euros, which for us, being an Italian company based still in Italy, was a very great success. And I think we did lots of great things with that type of money. Obviously, in order to scale, we realized, especially in the beginning of this year, that we needed probably more, and that's why we started thinking about either another investment or some sort of more industrial partnership.
Right, because I mean, there's been some hefty rounds have gone in to companies similar to yours over the course of this year.
So which is obviously, at least for the venture capital world, an issue sometimes, you know, even if the market is, well, because if you see a company that is well funded and you see another one that is asking for money, you know, you would probably not bet immediately on that company, because you want to wait until the other one who has been funded much more recently.
Yeah, that's very interesting. I mean, I suppose the conversations with VCs had probably changed for companies like yours and others that are here this week as a result of those big rounds that have gone into Klook and to Get Your Guide and stuff like that.
Yeah, well, you know, at the end, especially if you do a B2C business, as Get Your Guide and Klook and as Musement still does, you need a lot of money for the marketing. So the majority of the money that you would get from an investment VC is basically for marketing. And this is very risky, especially if you have other companies that have been financed pretty well by other VC funds. So as it was with Get Your Guide, and as it is in a different market with Klook.
Yeah, and indeed other companies in the industry, we're thinking of Booking.com, have now come in, and we know how much money they like to spend on marketing.
Absolutely, and this is why I think for our side, it's very interesting that we finally did a deal with a group such as TUI, because TUI already owns millions of customers. Actually, last year they have managed 20 million customers by themselves. So for us, it's a captive market we already have. And for a company that has been focusing a lot, at least in terms of resources, economical resources in marketing, this is, for the B2C part, this is extraordinary. It's a great opportunity.
So tell me, I mean, you're now part of the TUI Group, and you were primarily a B2C player. How does that change now? Because presumably they will be using your platform and your connections into the supplier end to feed their agents and their other platforms. So do you now become predominantly a B2B player on behalf of your owner, or how does it work?
This is, well, the idea is exactly that. Let's say that we're not losing the B2C part anyway, so we're keeping Musement as a brand, as a B2C brand, so we are, you know, in our jointly business case, we're seeking opportunities also as a B2C distribution channel. Obviously, what we need to focus on is now all the captive customers that TUI has already, and this is probably a very big important switch for us internally, at least for the marketing, but also in terms of product, in terms of technology, even if as a platform we have been always working to, let's say, connect as many suppliers as possible, to do as much as possible, something that was also that was also interesting for the B2B, let's say, side of the business, not only for the B2C.
Right. What I've always found very interesting when you look at tours and activities and TUI, and it's got a very large competitor in Europe, as we know. In many years gone by, when you went on a package holiday, for example, that activity or that tour or the ticket to the attraction would be sold to you by the rep when you were on the coach going from the airport to the hotel. Now, obviously, we've moved along considerably since then. How do you think they are going to market what you do and to those customers at the travel agent end or online and stuff like that? Because, they do it with, they've had the Isango and they've had various bits and pieces over the years.
Yeah.
But they've made a big acquisition with you. So how are they going to connect your suppliers through the food chain? Is it just technology behind the scenes, or almost some kind of educating that needs to go on?
I think both. Obviously, technology is fundamental, is key, and we have been able to connect with thousands of suppliers throughout different API integrations we have made since the very beginning. Actually, this is probably one of our biggest strengths in terms of the technology we have built in, and this is something that we're now giving to TUI. We are now providing to TUI, to the TUI world. Which obviously implies a process, implies something that still needs to be done. Actually, it's the challenge for our future as Musement within the TUI Group. On the other side, as you were saying, probably there's also lots to do in terms of educating your distribution channels, and this is something that I cannot really tell you about in details because this is something for me at least a little bit new, so I guess this is probably one of the biggest challenge in order to accomplish what we have in mind as TUI through the relationship they have with the travel agencies, with their own reps and destination and so forth.
Right, so one of your major jobs now presumably be to get more supply?
That's for sure. I would say that we already have lots of suppliers that are potentially very interesting also within the TUI world. Right now, Musement as a standalone business already has more than 3,000 suppliers connected directly through their platform, and we already have integrated 65 plus different booking engines, ticketing platforms all around the world. So we have potentially a very huge amount of products that could already be brought to the new world of TUI in this new scenario within TUI. Then obviously we need to grow, we want to grow, and this is something that we'll need to do aligned with the strategies for the growth in TUI based on their expectations, based on what they have been selling the most throughout the channels they already covered.
Okay, and let's take your Musement hat off and your new TUI hats that you're wearing as well. You've been doing this for 5 years with Musement.
Yeah.
There or thereabouts.
Yeah, that's right.
And even in those short 5 years, we've seen a lot of changes in this particular sector. Where do you think this is all kind of starting to shake out? We've had the two acquisitions in April. We've had the TUI acquisition of Musement last week. The wider industry is kind of, I wouldn't say waking up, but they're taking a lot more interest than perhaps they did in previous years. Where's all this going?
It's hard to say. I would say that being still a very fragmented market, even if we're starting to see lots of consolidation around, I think at least in the next 2-3 years, still fragmentation will be probably there. So I don't see a situation in which there is any big player for any market, not even in Europe, but not even in Asia.
You mean at a B2C level?
At a B2C level, at least at a B2C level.
Okay.
For the B2B, this is something that I really don't know about. I don't really have an answer about, because even for the B2B, the fragmentation is probably bigger. and it's hard to say what is going to happen. What I can say about the new situation for Musement is that we have such a great opportunity because we already have, with this type of partnership, 20 million customers ready to be using our platform in this new scenario. So,
okay, well, it's nice that you've been able to share some thoughts with it. It's actually sometimes very unusual when a company's just been acquired. They go very quiet for a while, so we appreciate your time and enjoy the rest of the show here this week.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.